Because so often people say, well, what jobs will AI take? But really it's what skills.
Hi, I'm Jason Manship, host of Authentic and Agentic, presented by TechPoint. Every week on this show, we break down what's happening in AI and what it means for how we work, lead, and live. Join me for a human-focused conversation that keeps you ahead of the curve. This is the Authentic and Agentic podcast on the IBJ Media Podcast Network. Hey friends, Jason here, the host of the Authentic and Agentic podcast. Glad to have you today. Before we jump into our interview, I like to start these shows with a little bit of a deep dive on what's going on in the world of AI. Some news, some notes, some pontifications. Just want to keep us in the conversation right now. The world's moving fast. Sometimes there's a lot to digest and people don't know where to start. And so a lot of people turn here to understand what's going on in the world of AI. So first thing I want to start with is I've had a lot of people ask me about getting an AI assistant. And up until this point, I've been pretty honest with folks and said, like, it's still pretty clunky. Like, there's a lot of neat bits and pieces coming, but it's not practical yet. And I think I'm ready to say that it is really close finally. Through some recent breakthroughs, I think really being led by Claude, but there's a lot of other parts out there happening. This is starting to come to fruition. Like, we're starting to see it, not just hype, but actual work. So over the past week, I built something for myself. I used Claude to do it. It runs every morning at 6 a.m. It pulls my calendar, my Slack messages, my email, and it generates a daily briefing. That's pretty cool. By itself is helpful. It's a fairly easy thing to do. If you just download Claude, the actual desktop app, and go into the ideas tab of Cowork, it'll say, hey, we can build this for you. And then you just hook up your calendar and your Slack messages and your email. It's pretty user-friendly right away. And that's neat. But to me, where it gets interesting is how personal it's becoming. So I'm able to look at my wife's calendar, at my kids' schedules. I built a feature that coaches me up on how to be a better dad and a better husband. And not just in some generic way. So when I get my daily brief, it's analyzing all these things, but it's including encouragement and moments I shouldn't miss and things I should be doing to keep me focused, right? To keep me focused on the things that actually matter. And I trained it and I told it, this is what I care about. I don't want you to let me miss these things. And I mean, honestly, guys, it's the kind of thing that if you're a busy person, you sometimes unintentionally neglect the things around you that matter the most. And my goal here isn't to outsource agency. It's not to say, hey, I can't figure out how to be a good dad. It's just to push me to make that a priority. Because when I look at my to-do list now, it doesn't just include my tasks. It doesn't just include my calendar. It includes the things that sincerely matter, like sitting down with my family and having dinner. So what's really neat about this, though, is I built my own task management system in Replit. We use it here at my little company. And I built something in it called an MCP, which is a model context protocol. It's a nerd thing for those of you that aren't developers. But in essence, it's a structured way for AI to understand my world, my tasks, my priorities, my data, and it understands it all in real time using my little task management tool. So now my morning briefing doesn't just tell me what's on my calendar. It tells me what really matters. It looks ahead at my tasks. It looks ahead at my calendar. It understands my family's evening festivities and things to do. I even coded it into HelloFresh, which we use every week. We get 3 meals delivered every week. And it suggests what we should cook each night, when we can cook it, based on how busy the night is and how long each meal takes to prepare and cook. That's pretty cool. Like, what a neat feature. And I'm actively using this now. I'm 4 days into it. I love it. And it's encouraging me to do a better job in all parts of my life because I brought it all into one spot and I'm having it communicate to me in the way I want to be communicated to, which I think is really valuable. I built a two-way connection between Claude and my task system. So every morning I get this briefing loaded right into my task management system. And in that briefing, right there where it says, hey, here's all the stuff you should work on, I can turn something into a task. Maybe it pulled something out of my email or from Slack that I don't have on my to-do list. I can right there add it to my to-do list. I can reschedule things that maybe I should put off till next week because I don't have the time to get to it this week. Or I can assign it to someone on my team. I can ask for help. And what's really neat about this is I built it so that I can teach it. It's a learning tool. And so if I dismiss something, it learns that that's not important. If it gets something wrong, I correct it and it remembers that. So over time, this little tool that gives me a daily update isn't just like a read your calendar, read your list and send you stuff. It starts to become more aligned to me. It's like it's learning from me and what I'm doing. And I'm telling you guys, this is an instant productivity multiplier. It doesn't do everything for me, but it does help me focus on what actually matters. I'm still learning. I'll share some of this with you guys on the YouTube channel so you can see it. But I'm still playing with it. I'm still trying to figure this thing out. But for the first time, for me personally, it feels like an AI assistant is here and it's having a material difference on my life. And so I'm really glad to share that and excited to share with you more how it works and what it does. The second story I wanted to talk about is Chuck Norris. So switching gears in a big way, went down a bit of a rabbit hole this week because I saw this headline. I mean, Chuck Norris died, right? Which is a big deal. You probably, if you're, I guess, depending on your age group or age bracket, you may know a lot of the old Chuck Norris movies and MMA type stuff he used to do. For the meme generation, Chuck Norris is like one of the original internet memes. Where he doesn't do push-ups, he pushes the earth down, right? That sort of thing. You've probably seen some of these memes pop up on social media feeds after he passed away. But what I found interesting was I read this story about this guy who created the Chuck Norris facts, the guy that built that originally. It was on ESPN. It's really interesting conversation. So you should go read it if you get a chance. But the guy that did that now works in AI. And he made an interesting point that AI really doesn't totally get humor, right? It can generate jokes, but it doesn't understand why something's funny. And that got me thinking about the Turing test. If you're familiar with that, it's the idea that if a human can't tell whether they're talking to a machine or a person, then the machine passed the Turing test. And I have heard people say that by 2027, 1 year plus a few months from now, we won't be able to tell the difference when we're talking to AI or a human being on the phone. And here's what got me thinking about this. So maybe that's true. But this whole Chuck Norris thing, and especially this story on ESPN, really triggered something for me where I'm not totally convinced, because I think humor is one of the last frontiers of really being human. You have to understand timing and context and shared experience and subtlety. Now, I mean, look, I've listened to Notebook LM. There are moments in those automated AI generated podcasts that Google's Notebook LM creates where you really can't tell that they're not human. I mean, I've heard them cough. I've heard them laugh and kind of have their own little thing. And so maybe we will get there. I don't know, but I have a hard time believing that we're quite ready for this. And I don't know, it's close, but there's still a gap. And I hope that gap matters more than maybe we realize. I do love the idea of automating the parts of our life that we don't want to do. But again, this show is all about staying human with AI. And humor, I think, is a huge part of being human. So on that note, Sunday night, I took my kids to a concert. They have a musician they love, a guy named Josiah Queen. He is 23 years old, and he is a Christian pop artist. He did it at the Egyptian Room, or the Murat, or whatever it's called now, the old National Building in downtown Indy on Mass Ave. And this place was filled, sold out show. And it was like a giant sing along. Like everybody in the audience knew all the words. It was really cool. I'm sitting there with my 10-year-old, Simon. We actually bought tickets separately, which is kind of funny. My daughter and wife were going and bought 2 tickets. And then Simon decided he wanted to go. So we had to buy a second set of 2 tickets. We didn't get to sit together. Long story there, but it was really neat. And so I'm sitting in this event. I'm watching my son sing along to this guy. And it kind of stopped me in my tracks, right? Like, the world is changing so fast. AI is making us more productive, more efficient, more capable. But I stopped to think for a second. I'm like, man, what's the question? I mean, are we really staying human in this process? Right? Are we sending our agency elsewhere? Are we getting out of life in some ways, right? Where these bots and these agents and these tech tools are taking over. I mean, yeah, sort of, but like, to me, and we talked about this with Josh Cecil on a recent episode, live music is a big deal. I cannot envision a future where I go watch some hologram AI tool thing sing songs. Like the fact that, you know, you got a whole room of people all cheering for this guy's creativity and his, songwriting capabilities and the band and all the things that came with it. Like that is an experience. And all of you have been to a concert before. It is an experience. And I sincerely hope we never lose that as we move forward here. He has this one song, again, Christian artist. He has this one song called Dusty Bibles. And it has this line in it. It says, "We've got dust on our Bibles, but brand new iPhones." And that really stuck with me because the song's not about phones or technology. It's about attention. It's about what we value. It's about what we prioritize. And as we build all of this incredible technology, I don't think we can lose sight of that. I want to challenge all of us to keep building, but don't lose our humanity. We need to stay present. We need to stay connected. For me, faith is a big part of that. Family is a huge part of that. And I think we need to not lose sight of those things in the effort of just getting faster and better and stronger along the way. Because I believe that if we get that part wrong, none of the rest of it even matters. I mean, Adam Cronk said, to what end? Like, what's the point here? So that's just what I've been thinking about after going to that show and kind of processing the humor side of the memes generated from Chuck Norris. But I should have a lot more kind of technical deep dive next week. I'm going to a conference this week that brings some of the AI leaders from across the U.S. together in a room. And I intend to report back from that with some kind of big headlines. But after the break, I'm going to sit down with Indiana Secretary of Education, Dr. Katie Jenner. So let's skip to a break from our friends at TechPoint, and then we'll come back with Dr. Katie Jenner. AI isn't just changing jobs, it's changing who gets hired. TechPoint's new brief, AI Amplifies the Need to Address the Experience Gap, shows how AI is changing entry-level jobs and how employers can take advantage of this moment. Download the brief and find out ways to get involved at techpoint.org/AI gap. Welcome back, and thanks again to our sponsor, TechPoint. What an awesome group of people doing awesome things. I'm excited that we'll have some more news to share here shortly about a continued partnership there with the fine folks at TechPoint, but just thrilled to have them a part of this show. I am really excited about this next conversation. So today I'm joined by Dr. Katie Jenner. She is Indiana's Secretary of Education. And if you're like me, you probably hear that title and wonder, well, what does the Secretary of Education do? In Indiana, this role is appointed by the governor and is responsible for helping oversee the state's education system. That's from K-12 through higher ed and even kind of the workforce pipeline. It's not workforce development per se, but it's the pipeline getting people prepared. So she's really responsible for shaping academic standards, guiding policy, supporting schools and educators, and helping ensure students are prepared for what comes after school. Dr. Jenner brings a unique perspective to that role. She started as a classroom teacher. She became a principal and then a district leader. And in 2021, she was appointed by Governor Eric Holcomb to serve as Indiana's first Secretary of Education. It is now an appointed position. It used to be an elected position. So she's not coming at this from theory. She's lived it at every level. And now she's helping lead the state in a moment where everything is shifting. So in education, AI is changing how we learn. The workforce is evolving literally overnight. The expectations for students and schools are being rewritten in real time. And so what an interesting time to have a conversation like this, to be in her role in her world, right? We're talking about things like what students actually need to succeed in this AI world, how schools can balance technology with the foundational human skills. We talk about where Indiana's leading and frankly, where there's still work to do, and how parents, educators, and leaders can all play a role in shaping what comes next. This is not just an education conversation. It's a workforce conversation. It's a parenting conversation. And I think it's a future of humanity conversation. You're really going to appreciate Dr. Jenner's perspective. She brings both conviction and practicality to a space that's very overwhelming to me, probably to most of you. So let's get into it. My conversation with Dr. Katie Jenner. Dr. Katie Jenner, thank you so much for joining me today on the Authentic and Agentic podcast.
Great to be on.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Glad to have you. So on this podcast, we talk about AI and we talk about the hard things, I like to tell folks. And there's very few things harder right now, I think, than understanding where the world's going for young people. And so you're right at the intersection of that as the Secretary of Education. Is that the job title?
Yes.
Okay. So you oversee K-12, higher ed, kind of getting everybody prepped to go into the workforce.
For what's ahead.
Okay.
Yes, that's true. And then it also includes a handful of other state agencies as well. School for the Deaf, School for the Blind and Visually Impaired, Indiana Charter Board, Indiana State Library, and then ERB, which is support school districts with teacher contract negotiation.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we're going to talk about schools today. I'm sure this is something you talk about
Excellent.
literally every day, but I get this question a lot from listeners. Like, how should we be thinking about this? And so one of the things I want to ask you about first is State House just wrapped a session.
Yes.
I know there was education stuff in that. I heard you speak maybe before the session ended about some of your agenda items.
Yes.
Talk to us about what happened from an educational perspective and maybe what changes happened soon there before the session or during the session, or maybe even what's coming soon after the session.
Sure. So one of the items top of my mind is actually it impacts the education space, but it's not completely education, and that's the impact we're seeing on children using social media. It is the longitudinal data is showing the academic outcomes are being impacted negatively. Our mental health outcomes are being impacted. So prior to the session, we publicly shared our team that we have to have an honest conversation as a state. And knowing that the tech industry comes with a lot of money to support, lobbying for what they want or their desired outcome, their bottom line. We knew that it was going to be a really challenging conversation at the State House. And in fact, you may have seen first half, it was in an education bill, 199, and we got up against that really tight deadline and needed to strip it out to work on it on the House side. And I can't say enough about legislators, including Representative Joanna King, Representative Jeter, Speaker Houston, Representative Baining, Senator Rotz, others who just went all in to try to help protect our students against the impacts of social media. So that was quite frankly one of the toughest, hardest drives I've ever done in the past 5-6 years that I've been doing this role. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media impacts everyone. And everyone has opinions. And then we also, again, have a lot of money flowing in to protect that bottom line. The other items this session, and again, it was such a push, 8 weeks, and we're done.
Every day is rapid fire.
Oh my gosh, it was rapid fire. So reading, I'm continuing the focus on making sure all students can read. Lilly Endowment is supporting our expanded literacy cadre. So we were able to, in a non-fiscal year, get additional support for schools.
We're so lucky to have those folks.
Oh gosh, Lilly Endowment, them being right here in the state of Indiana, I don't think we thank them enough and realize
generational impact.
Oh, it's remarkable. So also in the AI front, we had the data science pathway will be developed. Many people don't realize, but calculus was deployed across all American high schools during the space race.
Sure.
And it was a fast deployment.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
And now the conversation is really about data science because that is the foundation.
Currency of today,
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So Purdue University and others are really leaning in, helping us develop that data science pathway. So we'll still have the calculus math pathway, but we'll also be building and have a data science pathway. I'd say those are some top headliners.
So does that mean that students won't have to take calculus? They could take data science instead?
Students will have options.
That's great.
So I think it's really, really important, right? If you're going to be an engineer, my dad's an engineer, you should absolutely continue on the calculus front. But if you are considering a path in AI, you should probably consider taking some data science courses.
I don't use my calculus much at all anymore, but I use data analytics all day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a real thing.
So there will be flexibility for students depending on what their path is ahead.
So talk to me a little bit about the social media piece. I had a chance to interview amazing people at this organization at Notre Dame, the Institute for Ethics and the Common Good, who are studying AI ethics. And one thing they said that I've repeated multiple times, but man, I just cannot get over this, is that when they interviewed executives from Silicon Valley, the people that were building Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, the people that were building it wouldn't let their own children use those tools because they knew at its core it was not good for children, right?
Right.
And when I asked them about AI, the people that are building OpenAI and Claude and these types of tools, they said it's the exact opposite, that parents see these as enablers, productivity enhancers, and they're starting to lean in places. So talk to me a little bit about like what went through or is going through the legal chain here as it relates to social media for kids. Yeah,
so just to touch on what you were sharing about what Notre Dame is studying and doing. And again, that is being funded by the Lilly Endowment.
Exactly.
When I've spoken with them, it's very interesting how while their focus is totally AI, they are also hyper aware of these other skills and value sets, the human side.
That's right.
That it is almost going to become more important. So as technology and AI advances, how we're developing these human skills will also need to advance at pace. Ethical reasoning as one of many examples. So I think did you ask specifically about the social media?
Yeah, I want to know more about what went through legislator or what you guys worked on in that process.
Yeah, sure. So we started session with a ban.
Of all social media.
Of all social media for any student 13 or under.
Okay.
We shifted in the middle of session to a 12 and under ban because again, our goal was to get it across the line to the House. After some conversation with some key senators, we knew that we needed to do some recalibrating, and then again, bring it back in the House side. So where we landed in the House, it was actually, I would say, a combination of conversations that the Senate has had over the past year or two on social media and what the House has had over the past a couple years on social media. And we just, as an educator, as a mom of teenagers, so passionate about protecting our kids from social media, we just had to figure out how did we thread the needle. And where we ended, I would say, is a starting point for the state. It's something that the state is absolutely going to have to keep their eye on, probably build upon over the years. But where we ended is any student under the age of 16, so 15 and under, has to have parental permission for any of the social media apps that are gross revenue over $1 billion.
Okay, which is
and
most of the big ones. Yep.
I would name them, but my team is advised that could set us up for a lawsuit in the state.
We won't name any of these
but
folks.
hopefully parents and families and others who are listening can think of the top ones that teenagers love and are on for 3 hours a day scrolling.
Yep.
It should capture those. So not only parental permission across the board, but the second and just as important is getting the addictive features out.
The dopamine hits, right?
It is the dopamine hits.
Yeah.
And I mentioned just a minute ago the 3 hours or more scrolling. And we actually, that is an Indiana data point that our middle school girls are spending over 3 hours a day scrolling. And you think about what are they missing? It goes back to that human skill development, the basics, communication, talking to others, making eye contact, working with others. If you're just scrolling, you just have dopamine hit after dopamine hit. It's not good for us.
And that doesn't even touch on the dangers and the bullying and all the other challenges.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and that's another, I'm glad you brought that up because that I often forget to add that component in. Another piece of this law will not allow for any stranger, so not a person who is not on your child's friend list.
Sure.
No one outside of your child's friend list can do a private message to them, a private chat to them.
That's great.
And I mean, there are a number of tragedies or even close to tragedies. And a number of families that have approached us and said, gosh, I spent all the money to buy this app or that app because I thought it would protect my child. And little did I know they had 5 accounts in this particular social media.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a tech-enabled dad, and I know my way around this stuff, and I still have a hard time whack-a-moling all the ways they can get around this
How old are your kids?
12 and 10.
Okay, so you're right at prime time.
Yeah, I'm the worst dad in the world right now because my kids are the only kids in their whole school that don't have a cell phone.
Good for you. Good
The
for
worst.
you. I lasted, and I say I lasted because it's a ton of pressure from your kids,
Sure.
isn't it?
Oh, every day.
My girls were 12 and a half.
Okay.
And my husband and I both work out of town. And so we ended up, we got them a cell phone at 12 and a half. And in hindsight, I wish I'd waited.
Yeah.
Truly. And we were the last ones. But I do hope with this law that passed, it's a starting point.
Sure.
But with the addictive technology impacts, and when people ask me, like, what does that mean? Do you have boys or girls?
One of each.
One of each. Okay.
Yep.
So I have twin daughters who are 16. So if a young lady or young boy, if they remove a couple of their past photos within their post, then data is collected and immediately they might get advertising for certain beauty products or certain products to feel better about themselves.
Sure.
Or, I mean, there are so much data is being collected on our young children that I think we as parents would be appalled.
Yeah, I could speak to, I mean, I spent a lot of time in digital marketing, and on the flip side of that, like figuring out how to get a message to the right person
You saw
at the
all
right
the
time.
data.
And it's scary.
It is scary.
It's awful.
It sure
and it
is.
really shouldn't be available to target kids who are still developing.
Yeah. You know, one of the other, I'm glad you mentioned that because you were on the other side. When working again with a crew of people to drive this legislation forward, someone looked at me and said, do you think most parents know the impacts?
No idea.
And we don't have that message out as much as we could and should quite yet. So hopefully this and other, it can be a start.
Yeah, we could probably spend the whole time talking about this issue, but the one thing that I keep coming back to is we think a lot about our kids' safety in physical terms.
Yes.
Right? Not letting them just go to the mall by themselves at 12 years old and run around and do things. But we don't protect them digitally.
That's right.
And that's where they do most of their interactions nowadays.
Yes.
And that's where the real harm could potentially be. And so I'm grateful for you for jumping in there. I agree that it's an ongoing conversation. I mean, I've worked at the federal level on some of this stuff. Recently interviewed Congresswoman Houchin. She's pushing some stuff through.
Yes.
The U.S. House as well. And these are hard conversations because, I mean, like personal freedom is a thing. We should be able to use tools, but I don't think a 12-year-old kid needs to be signing contracts.
That's right. And in the perfect world, we would have, and again, I'm one of those, I like local control.
Agreed.
But when it comes to technology and when it comes to crossing state lines and when it comes to cybersecurity and safety of our kids, we need the federal government to be a part of the conversation and protecting our young kids.
Agreed. Yeah, I'll speak to that for a second too, because I run internet marketing companies and e-commerce companies, and if every state has different rules, this is a big challenge in AI right now.
Yes, it is.
It's impossible for small businesses to participate. Right now, I have a little board game store that I started in downtown Noblesville, right? We just sell card games and board games and that sort of stuff. It's the most analog business you could ever have, and I love it. But we sell online, and right now I have to file and pay sales tax in 16 states as a small little business, which is cumbersome.
Yes.
Right? That's like a whole thing. And so if I had to follow different rules for different states it just doesn't compute. And so I agree with you. I think there does need to be some version of a standard in that process. Well, let's keep moving here.
Yes.
Otherwise, we're going to be on social media all day long. I do want to double click maybe just for a second, because I think about phones and scrolling and the time we spend, those dopamine hits that we talk about. And when I think about phones in schools, right? I know that everybody wants them, right? They want to have them when they're with them at all times. I've heard about this concept of bell to bell. I've heard about the concept of schools blocking them. From my perspective, or from your perspective, I should say, how much of today's education challenge is because of, maybe even could be classified as like an attention challenge? Like the kids don't want to pay attention because there's something.
Because there's something else that they can grab.
Right? Multitasking or not paying attention. Or
I tell you, I think you could ask this question, and I'll answer it in the form of a young child at school, but also think about us as adults.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but if my phone is out near me, I don't even think I grab it. I look at it. I grab it. I look at it.
Now we wear them too, right?
Yeah, some people do. I drew the line. I can't look anymore. But with kids, I mean, it's the same, if not more challenging, right? They're grabbing, they're looking. They're grabbing, they're looking. Did so-and-so text me? Is there an update? Although they don't text, they snap or whatever.
That's right.
You know, is there an update here or there? But it's constant. And you imagine a teacher working with students on an Algebra 1 lesson, how easy would it be for even us as adults sitting in that classroom to pay attention?
Yep.
So the bell to bell is what our General Assembly just tightened. They had passed last year no cell phones during instructional time. Any policy is only as good as implementation.
Oh, for sure.
So it really varied across the state, school to school, in terms of how we saw that implemented.
Yeah.
We saw some schools up in Fort Wayne immediately had pouches that they purchased, and so they were already bell to bell.
Yeah.
We had other schools that may have started strong, and then
real life happens,
and students are on their phones. I have been asked good questions by some parents, because with the increase in work-based learning and students leaving for, again, a work-based experience, an apprenticeship, what have you, or leaving to take a college class. We're number 1 in the nation for students leaving with college credit. So there's a lot of coming and going. That is the guidance we will make sure to get to our schools. Students who are leaving the campus should certainly
take
have their cell phones.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Makes sense.
But in terms of an 8-year-old having their cell phone on them all day.
Distracting all the other kids around them.
Exactly.
It's a problem. Well, again, cheers for that. I'm all in on trying to help create some process for learning.
And I hope it helps our teachers. I mean, teaching, I chose the teaching profession. It's a calling. And even in the 20 years that 20 plus years that I've been at it, and your more senior teachers would share the same. I mean, it has changed so
no doubt.
much. But yeah, any way that we can keep the focus on the main thing, which is student learning, we want to do. Okay,
so I'm going to go real deep, real fast on that exact topic. So focus on student learning, focus on changing real fast. This artificial intelligence concept, the whole point of my podcast, has popped up its head. AI in the classroom, okay? So you've spoken publicly about using AI intentionally in schools. When you look at tools like AI tutors or AI lesson planning tools, is there, positives, negatives? To just walk us through kind of maybe how you would steer if everybody listened to you. And I know they don't.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, so I recall it's probably spring of, I remember exactly, 22, 23, we had just a line of teachers who came and said, AI, we're never going to be able to teach writing again. It is over. Because kids were just
type it in and it spits it out for you.
Spits it out immediately. So we pulled teachers, researchers together and said, AI's here.
That's right.
How might we leverage AI for the good? What could that look like? So we started with 2 key problem statements. One was focused on high dosage tutoring. High dosage tutoring done well is one of the fastest ways we can accelerate student learning.
Makes total sense.
So, right, how we're struggling on the people side. Okay, great. How can we leverage AI to help with this challenge?
Personalize the learning process.
Absolutely. And then the second big problem statement was, how might we leverage AI to overcome some of the, administrative tasks that are just take a little while, important, but still take time.
Sure.
And then we supported our schools, those who wanted to opt in across the state, gathered the research and are improving from there. Some that I will highlight in terms of the good.
Yeah.
Anderson Cooper visited one of our northern Indiana schools,
That's cool.
Hobart.
Oh, very cool.
And you can Google Anderson Cooper, Hobart AI, and you can see exactly how Hobart was using a program called Khanmigo.
Okay.
Sal Khan is a known education go-to.
We do tutoring with my son.
That's right.
Math, 4th grade math.
Yes.
Crushing it right now.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
So Sal Khan launched Khanmigo, and Hobart was one of the first schools in the nation to pilot that.
Okay.
So it's a great little series to take a look at. But Hobart is one of many schools that have tried to figure out, how do we leverage it in the best ways. I mean, there are challenges too, for sure. I mean, one of the big challenges is that we question every day is protecting our students, making sure they're safe in what they might put in.
Sure. Like social media, right? I mean,
exactly.
Giving them free reign to all of the world's information can be a very scary place if you're not careful.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So with some of the education-focused AI platforms, we have literally had teachers and students try to break it. Ask who you should vote for president.
Sure.
Ask any tough
religion
question,
social issue questions.
Ask the questions. Let's see what it answers. Yeah. So, I think we have to keep pushing and trying, especially when it comes to platforms in our schools. I don't think we should be scared of it. It should be, again, how do we leverage AI for the good?
Are you finding that with teachers? I imagine teaching, it feels to me like a sacrosanct profession. Like I'm forever grateful for every teacher that chose that career, that was called into that career path, because it's not easy, right? And but these folks pour into our kids.
Yes.
I have to imagine that there's some that are like, I don't want anything to do with this newfangled stuff, right? And there's probably some that are like, hey, this might make my job easier. What are you hearing across? I mean, I think I should probably caveat this for the listeners, because I didn't know this until I started looking. Like the Department of Education is like a gigantic segment of Indiana's economy. Mm-hmm. You're overseeing like a lot. Yeah,
60% of the budget is about 50% is K-12 of our state's budget.
Yep.
An additional 8 to 10% is higher education.
So that's what, like $25-26 billion a year?
Yes.
Running. Wow. And so that's a big responsibility. Mm-hmm. And I imagine that we talked about like maybe the differences in teacher opinions, but school districts are very different too.
Yes, they are.
Very different, right? It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And so how are you, I guess, listening and leaning in? How are you helping folks understand that vision of like, let's not be afraid of it, let's do something about it, without kind of voluntolding them that this is the way it has to be?
I think it's let's not be afraid of it. And that is best delivered teacher to teacher.
Okay.
Right? When teachers have experiences, they've received a grant or they have access to this certain platform. There's another very well-known vendor who has really been helpful with some of our literacy and reading tutoring in a one-on-one. So when one teacher shares with another, I mean, that is the best possible.
It's like lesson plan sharing in some ways, right?
That is the best possible option. But I also believe it's a good thing to have a balance of teachers, some who are all in and some who are like, pull out your book. Let's write the old fashioned way on your notepad. Some people at home are like, old fashioned, that's what I do today.
That's right.
Right. But I think that balance is actually a great thing for a student, because you you even though you're an AI junkie, you have a balance. I guarantee it.
Well, her name's Amanda. She's my wife. And I tell folks, I'm entrepreneurial and I'm all in on the tech stuff. So I tell folks that if I weren't married, I would either be a billionaire or homeless, and there's no in between, right? I literally would be on one extreme. So she is that balance.
She is your balance.
She's are you sure you really want to do that? Well, maybe not. And so I agree with you. There is some level of like working together to get there and making sure you bring it along with you.
And then the other thing where we started this conversation and talking about kind of what Notre Dame is doing and thinking through, and it goes back to the skill development.
For sure.
I mean, some of the key skills that we need to develop at a better pace and in a better way than we are today are not going to be with someone sitting behind a computer screen. Yeah. So we just, I think the balance is good. I think it's always helpful. And I look at my own daughters, they're sophomores in high school. You know, some of their teachers are early adopters, some are not, but they are experiencing both.
One of the things that when I talked to the leadership team at Eli Lilly, one of the things they pushed was executive sponsorship, getting the top down to kind of lead, right? And then people would follow in that way. And I think about that from a school systems perspective. I mean, there are some that are out pushing forward and there are some that are falling behind. And I think like having that kind of group organized together and building literacy that way, I think really does move the needle for the schools.
And that was part of the push in why we did the initial statewide AI grant.
Yeah.
And we've done
Talk a little bit about that.
Well, we've done a number of pushes where we've looked at, whether it is, again, focus on high dosage tutoring or getting rid of some of the tasks that are just administrative and not student focused. Yeah. We also launched an AI grant to try to better support our alternative school students.
Okay.
We feel in many regards we could do better with the students who may have had, third chance, fourth chance, fifth chance.
Got it.
So how do we leverage AI in that way? I mentioned the reading with a specific reading tutoring. But it has to be balanced with skill development.
That's right.
I think that's the discussion that I feel is coming for our state. That's probably next session. But what I would challenge the listening audience, hopefully some General Assembly members,
there are,
is it can't be an either or.
That's right.
It has to be a both and.
That's right. And
we can't, we've been all in one way. You can't just totally have the teeter-totter.
Guardrail, yeah.
Right. It's we've got to have a balance in how we're looking at this, and we also have to be nimble.
Yep.
Because this is advancing faster than we can move.
I was recently at a conference put on by IWU, Indiana Wesleyan, the AI3 Summit. I saw University of Indianapolis is doing another one, and then I went to the IBJ's Tech Breakfast earlier this week and heard Meng Cheng talk about this as well. I think I was pretty inspired by the level of kind of forward thinking and progressive perspective around AI from the higher education places.
Higher education is having to.
They're moving faster than I thought they would.
And part of it is because with the higher education value proposition being questioned or debated across our country, across our world, some of our students who are majoring in, and I never want to name a specific major because then a listener is like, oh no, right?
That's right.
And that's not necessarily true. So, but some of our students who are majoring in certain areas that were absolutely needed 5 years ago, big time, it is now a very different job placement rate with graduates coming out today than 5 years ago. And so higher ed, I'm pretty proud of how they are being nimble in this front. You
should be. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
I mean, I was really encouraged by how they're leaning in and how they're moving. I was the president of Ball State's student government when I was at Ball State. So I helped rewrite the university constitution way back in the day. Right?
What was your biggest win in rewriting the Constitution?
Just student engagement involvement in it, basically. Just making sure we had a voice in some of those tables.
Yeah.
I never really understood all the tenure arguments and the things that they were pushing for, but I wanted to make sure that there were student representatives involved in those decisions that impacted students, right?
Yes.
And so a lot of it was around, better public transportation and connecting Muncie with the school and things like that. But what I saw, though, was like how messy that process is and how slow moving some of that stuff moves.
Yes.
And so I was pleasantly surprised over the last couple of weeks when I've seen some of these schools like kicking it into high gear.
That's right. And you mentioned Purdue, who Mung Chang has talked publicly about the new requirement that they're going to have an AI competency that students will have to prove.
Not just for engineering students.
That's exactly
this is
right.
for all of them.
All students. And this gives you an example of how quick, and you live this again, so you know how quick tech is moving. For about 10 years, the General Assembly and tech advocates were pushing us to have a computer science requirement for every single student in Indiana. We now have that requirement, and yet the computer science curriculum is outdated so quickly.
You're vibe coding
really
everything now.
It has to be digital literacy and AI.
That's wild.
It is absolutely.
Make the change and change it again.
It is.
Right?
It is. It's wild, but it's important that we become more and more nimble.
And I spend a lot of time thinking about that. So I work with the folks at TechPoint, and Sally Reasoner's a good friend of mine, and she leads the talent group over there. And she constantly talks about, the need for leveling up our kids coming out of school.
Yes.
So that they're ready for the jobs of today and tomorrow.
Yes.
Right. And so
when she says leveling up, do you think she is more focused on the tech skills or the durable skills?
But probably the durable skills. But so what she said, which I found
that's typically what we hear.
Yeah. What I found fascinating was 10 years ago when you had a job in computer science, you graduated with a degree in computer science, and you were applying for a job, it was about what language do you know?
Yes.
Like physically, what coding language do you know?
Yes.
Right now, it's like, do you understand how the architect system works? It's more project managey and more high level because you're going to be managing agents that do stuff for you. You're not just doing the thing.
Right.
And so it's a broader perspective and understanding how the world fits together instead of knowing your thing down deep.
Yes.
And I think that's really encouraging. But she's just talked about how, employers right now, and I've heard this from a few places, like employers are slowing hiring for entry-level folks. Mm-hmm. I think AI has gotten a bad rap personally. I think that there have been a lot of people that have made cuts or not hired, and they're kind of blaming AI for it. Mm-hmm. Honestly, I think some of that's like businesses that weren't doing well, and it's easy to just point the finger at AI and say AI is the problem. But when I talk to folks, if you know how to use these tools, it's an Iron Man suit. It is a superpower.
Yes, it is.
And anybody, Sam Altman said famously, like, it's the best time in human history to be a 22-year-old kid, right? If you understand how to put on that, if you understand how to put on that Iron Man suit. Now, he's the leader of OpenAI. Maybe he has a different worldview or perspective, but I can tell you the kids that I talk to that want it, that are building and not just talking about it, some of these kids are going to build $1 million single-person solopreneur businesses, just building things.
Yes.
That is cool.
So we've talked about students who want to go straight to employment, who are building, they're entrepreneurs, they're pushing. We've talked about students who may go straight to higher ed, they enroll to keep learning. The other path is those who want to serve our country. Yeah. And we're hearing more and more from our military partners who, in order to protect our homeland, cybersecurity. So they are also, and we have an announcement that'll be coming in the next month or two about how we're working with them to build that talent pipeline. Cool. But they're actually, our military partners are as interested in these AI skills and other skill development as employers
That makes sense. That makes total sense. Well, I think that I don't agree in full with what Sam Altman said, but I do think that if you embrace the technology and you train and teach and learn and grow, there are tons of opportunities. Mm-hmm. And you can build your own thing. You can go make an immediate impact in a company that you start working for. Mm-hmm. You can go serve your country in a way that you're learning things the country's never seen before, right?
That's
and so it is a cool time to be alive. I call myself an AI optimist. I'm not sure everyone agrees with that perspective, but I do, right? I think that we have so much opportunity in front of us. We just have to pick and choose where to make that impact, where to make that difference. And I'm encouraged.
Well, let me ask you as a dad.
Yeah.
How do you want to see AI used or not in the classroom?
I'm all in on this sort of thing as long as we don't lose our agency.
Yes.
And so the thing that the folks at Notre Dame really impressed on me when I talked to them was they referred to it as using your wet brain, which I think is kind of funny, right?
I've not heard them say that, actually.
But I mean, like, think about things like cursive. We don't really do it. At least my kids don't do it as much. But I mean, things like that where it's like we just changed our culture and our time. I don't want to get to a spot where my children never have to think. I don't want to outsource thinking.
Yes.
Right? I want to supplement thinking.
Yes.
And so they should still be humans and challenging themselves and growing. They're a good analogy I heard was like the atrophy of a brain. How many phone numbers do you and I memorize today? Right? I'm seriously, because you hit the thing, auto call, whatever.
I remember more phone numbers from when I was 16 years old than I do
for the young people out there. Like, you didn't have auto dial and speed dial. You had to remember
a phone book if you were lucky. Otherwise, you had to remember.
Yeah, and you're exactly. I remember my buddies from 6th grade's phone numbers, but I couldn't tell you my mom's phone number right now. Right? Isn't that wild?
You should figure your mom's out. I feel like that needs to be like an action item for you.
I got the first 6 digits, but the last 4 really matter, and I don't know what they are. So, but I think that's a real thing, though, and so I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose that nature of learning. I think that's really important. So to me, I look at it as like an opportunity to grow and enhance and like supplement the things you don't like to do maybe, or supplement the things that you're not good at, but like it needs to be a part of your agency for sure.
Lilly Endowment just hosted, because they are getting ready to invest about $500 million in our higher ed institutions in Indiana, public and private. So higher ed institutions are really thinking through how they might partner together or with others to really, again, prepare the future, not only workforce, but the future person for what's ahead.
Yeah.
But Lilly Endowment hosted a convening of all of the higher eds. And I would pull my phone out if it was not across the room. But one of the slides that I took a picture of, because so often people say, well, what jobs is AI? What jobs will AI take ahead? But really it's what skills will AI...
Jobs will change.
Jobs will absolutely change, regardless, AI or not. But I hope, and I'll figure out who did that presentation on the skills and how they will shift. But that's really important that we all think about.
But for sure. And across all K-12 all the way up, right? I mean, like you got to start understanding how it fits into that conversation. And I think that's also, frankly, on the parents too, to lean in. I think we all have to have conversations. The reason I started this podcast, because I want people to have conversations around the dinner table and with their peer groups. Because just sticking your head in the sand and pretending that this isn't a thing, it will run you if you don't run it, right? And so I think it's really important for people to start having the hard conversations.
Absolutely.
For sure. I just have a couple more quick questions. Thinking about, it's funny because when I talk about AI, I tell folks, like, you can't have a 10-year plan anymore because it's moving so fast. We don't know what the world's going to look like in 2 years. But I'm going to ignore my own advice here and say classroom of 2035, 8-10 years from now, what does that look like? Any thoughts on, like, is it going to be radically different? Are there parts of it that you just hope never changes?
I think elementary and middle school grades will still have to be very focused on the foundations. Foundations including reading, STEM, and skill development.
Okay.
Skill development is, and I've said it, I think 20 times probably already, it is becoming more and more important in making sure our students are ready. Creativity is a skill that we haven't talked about yet. At the high school level, I think AI will absolutely, we'll see some more significant shifts.
Sure.
See some more significant
more
opportunities.
Independent, more.
Probably more independent learning, probably more teacher facilitation versus direct instruction, lecture only, which probably when you were in high school, I'm judging your age. I might be older than you, but the direct instruction was real. You 7 periods a day, and it was like all.
Yep.
But now we're absolutely shifting some away from that and facilitated learning, but I do think AI will have an impact. Personalized learning.
Yep.
I think this is going to impact parent option as well.
Okay.
Parent option in terms of if a school doesn't offer a certain course, or if a parent sees a certain path for their child that might be different than a path that we provide right now. I think parents and students will really have a lot of options to pursue their unique education.
Man, I love the idea of leaning into interests. My kids learn better when they're interested in something. I think probably everyone does. I know I do. When I care about something,
Yes.
I can't
Passion
get enough
and purpose.
of it, right? So I think that's great. Let me end with this question. And this is the question that I ask everyone as my final question. As I think about AI, as I think about the speed of the world that we operate in today, I like to ask folks, what keeps you up at night? I'll give you a quick answer to mine because I think it may fit in. So for me, it's my fears are how quickly the gap is widening between the haves and the have-nots. Because if you are in a school district, as an example, that is leaning forward and teaching some of this stuff and enabling, right? You're learning faster and leveling up quickly. And if you're in a school district that's rejecting it and not participating in it, or maybe doesn't have the means or the resources for it, like it feels like you could fall behind. And I think that as that plays out over the course of years or decades for a student learning, I think it's a dramatic barrier.
And if I can just flag, a lot of people, when they think of haves and have-nots, they think of socioeconomic status of students. I would tell you, when we do our tech survey, and that's all publicly available, transparent data that anyone can take a look at. Okay. You should.
On the DOE website?
You would love it.
I can't wait.
It's
Go
at
look at it right after this.
It's at in.gov. I'll make sure you have the
we'll put
exact
it in those
dashboard
show notes. Perfect.
Name. But it's not the haves and have-nots. It's no longer socioeconomic status. It really is who is the change agent at the superintendent, principal, teacher level.
That is wild.
It is.
I love it, right? I love that because it's not you're just born into it, right? I mean, like it definitely gives you an opportunity to find the place that's right for.
We have some school corporations that serve a high percentage of students in poverty that are just knocking it out of the park in terms of the opportunities they're exposing their students to. And
I love that.
And then on the flip side, students who where they go to a school with a very affluent population and just aren't exposed to all of the opportunities that are out there. So
that's the part for me that is it's not the school's responsibility, it's the parent's responsibility in some ways, right? Speaking as a parent, I'm not in your position. I'm sure you have strong opinions on trying to level up the schools and the administrators that are choosing not to participate. But I think about investing in my own kids, like I want to challenge them and I want to encourage them and I want to be there for them. And sometimes that's pushing them outside their comfort zone and not just letting them do the bare minimum that they would be happy to do as a 10-year-old kid.
Well, and I think we need to listen for sure to our number one customer, which is our parent.
Sure.
Our parent and family. They are in Indiana. We are a school choice state. Parents and families are choosing your school for a reason. And we want to make sure to continue to improve the quality across the board, regardless of school type. What keeps me up at night? Well, my teenage 16-year-old daughters do. That's a lot, being a parent in the world.
Times 2, opt out, unsubscribe.
Wow.
That's too hard.
But the other that I would say is what keeps me up at night is how fast it is moving.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel like anyone is moving fast enough
Drinking from a fire hose.
Preparing.
You started in 21, is that right? Somewhere in that range?
January 2021.
And it's moved. It's like doubling in speed every year, basically.
It sure
right?
is. It sure is. And schools, education, just like various workforce sectors, we've never had to move at the pace that we're moving. And I would say schools, we when you focus on the foundations, I mean, we didn't have to move, or we weren't moving at the pace of some of the industry sectors. We're now trying to pick that pace up and move at the pace of technology. Yeah. And it is, it's intense. So that is probably what keeps me up at night. And I think we have good people who are working at it. I just think, going back to your earlier question, what does 10 years from now look like? Because that is such an impossible question right now. I mean, how do you prepare for the impossible? That's right. Is really the question we're asking every day. Or not the impossible, the possible that we can't imagine yet.
Yeah, because it will be possible someday.
Yes, it will.
But I mean, we're going to have humanoid robots and self-driving everythings, and it's just, we don't know what's coming.
That is true.
We certainly don't. But
yes.
I am really grateful that you're leading the charge.
Thank you.
I have watched you speak a handful of times. I have seen you interact with a lot of different groups of people and different constituents that you have to work with and talk to. And you talked about the superintendents or the administrators that get it, that are pushing. And it's nice to have someone at the very top that's doing that.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for fighting for our kids.
Thank you. It is an honor of a lifetime to serve Indiana. I love it, and we'll keep pushing.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Huge thank you again to Secretary of Education, Dr. Katie Jenner. What a star. What an awesome, awesome person to be leading our state. She has stepped into unenviable, maybe is the right term, role. I mean, if you really stop to think about it, she's dealing with some of the hardest issues of our day, right? Preparing kids and young adults to go into the workforce in a world where we don't know what the workforce looks like next year or 2 years from now, let alone 15 years from now for some of these kids, right? Just awesome. I'm grateful for her. I'm grateful for the work she's putting in. I'm grateful for the vision. I have talked to a lot of folks in education, and I think that, there's some hesitancy here with AI and understanding how tech works and how tech fits into it. But you can tell, go back and listen to this episode again. You can tell Dr. Jenner gets it, and she is focused on building Indiana, the people here in Indiana, the students here in Indiana, to lead into the future. And so, I mean, this is a generational opportunity, and we have to have the right people involved in the conversation. And so really grateful for her, really grateful for her leadership, and for coming onto this podcast to talk about it. I think she's turning Indiana and working hard to make Indiana the best state possible, and I'm personally glad to be here. I think with her leadership and others at our state level, we're only going to continue to attract people who see that we're doing the right things in this state. So thank you, Dr. Jenner. Next week, I don't exactly know what we're going to post next week. We have 4 or 5 really, really cool conversations coming up. I am headed to Washington, D.C. this week for a hands-on kind of deep dive with some of the leaders in the nationwide U.S. AI space. So we're going to kind of see what comes from that, and if there's opportunities to share some notes and nuggets with you guys from that, which could be kind of fun. I am going to be sitting down soon with Christopher Day, Toph Day, from Elevate Ventures. They are driving a lot of Indiana's startup and scale-up ecosystem, helping to invest in companies here in Indiana to scale those up. We're going to talk about all sorts of stuff in and around AI. And then I have a couple of other really neat conversations coming up soon. And so I don't know exactly what's going to play next week, but I can promise you we're working very hard behind the scenes to create the best show possible. And so please subscribe. I'm actively trying to build my YouTube channel. We're working to grow it and get it to expand and expose this content to other people outside of our core audience. So if you get a chance, go to YouTube and search Jason Manship, Jayson Manship, and subscribe there. Or you can go to jasonmanship.com and I have links to all my social media channels. So really appreciate you for listening. Thanks for getting to the end of this episode, and I'll see you next week.